roller and put him back under the bed. And Chaplin immediately left. And like for 20 years, well, a long time, I've wanted to put something like that into a show. And so when Jim and I were kind of figuring out that story, I'm like, yeah, we gotta do that Chaplin thing. And then Jim Wong, he's just on the couch and suck up some opium. And go, it's the mother. And so he goes, yeah, I want to go under the bed. And the whole thing was, there was this other book called Dark Nature, and I forget the author, and it was all about, is nature moral, that mallard ducks will gang rape, and the cute little sea otters over SeaWorld, you don't really want to hang out with them. And so if you had people behaving like nature, behaving that way, maybe we wouldn't look so good, and I guess we don't look so good because we had one airing and then it was banned. And Jim and I don't get rerun money for that. And so anyway, the point of all that long-winded story was that I hope that that we're not all the sick creeps that you think. It wasn't just some thing to get kicked off of TV. There was a point behind it, but glad we did it.
Well, there is that poignant moment. Yeah. It's just kind of this funny moment between Mulder and Scully talking about their families, and just one of those, we actually asked the fans to tell us some of their favorite Mulder and Scully moments. And I mean, there are a ton. You take all day talking about it, but everything from the dance at the end of Postmodern Prometheus to Mulder teaching Scully how to play baseball in The Unnatural. I personally love the Mulder, Scully, and Skinner bathtub scene in the Hollywood episode. Because it was just so surreal. I love that episode. And that was yours, right, David? That was your episode. That was a lot of fun. Tell us a few of your favorite Mulder Scully moments. Jillian, you want to start, or David?
Well, you mentioned one. I like very much the one from the Postmodern Prometheus when we get up to dance. That's the one that always, whenever I'm asked that question, I think of that one. That just had a great feeling to it.
There was somebody recently told me about the conversation on the rock, or what's come to be known as that. Now I don't actually remember it.
It was when I say I wanted to be born without a leg, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Quagmire. Yeah.
Quagmire. And anyway, so I had some T-shirts made up that I've been selling off at Comic-Cons. I have COTR across around them.
Conversation on the rock.
Yeah, but that's all I got to give.
The other thing we asked were some of the favorite baddies, and why don't we go down the line? Because David, at the end, we haven't heard from you yet. Cerulean Blue is one, there you go. But what, your favorite baddie, and let's go down the line. Your favorite, either from the mythology or from the Monster of the Week.
I was a big fan of the guy was in your episode in Paper Hearts, I think. Was it Tom Noonan?
Tom Noonan.
What was the character's name?
Tom Noonan.
It's been 20 years, because
Yeah.
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Okay. Anyway.
Trump. Actually, no, that was Brian Cranston.
does anyone know out there?
In any event, I thought he was great.
Yes. No. Yes. Yes. Yes.
She's in the front row, so we trust her.
R-O-C-H-E. Roche. It was Roche.
Yes, Roche, yes.
But that was also one of the really.
You can quiz us for the rest of the night.
It was one of the fun things about working on the show too, is that you got to sometimes do some very rich character work on the villains. So because it was something that the show paid attention to and wanted to invest in.
How about you, Vince?
Gosh, so many. He's not a bad guy at all, really, but he was the central antagonist of an episode was the wonderful character played by Peter Boyle in Darren's episode. Clive Bruckner. I loved him. He was obviously not the bad guy, but the engine of story in that particular episode, and I love that one very much.
Yeah, and you guys got some amazing guests through the years. I mean, Peter Boyle is just one example. To do some great stuff, and even obviously one guest inspired you to do Breaking Bad, right, Vince?
Yes, indeed. I did an episode, I guess as far as fruitful villains, for me personally, it was Bryan Cranston was in an episode at the beginning of season 6. And meeting him, working with him in that episode was called Drive. And his name was Patrick Crump, named after my brother Patrick, and then a high school teacher I had named Mr. Crump. Actually, Roach was another high school teacher. I don't know what the hell that's about.
Something happened.
But that was fruitful for me personally, meeting Bryan Cranston through the X-Files.
And Howard, how about you?
What was the name of the character Darren played in?
Eddie Van Blunt.
Oh, Eddie Van, yeah.
Yeah, the age of time.
I mean, I don't know what you're asking about flipping. Show me your butt crack. Let's see the tail. This is come on, show. We got to see a little. We got to see a little skin here.
I think we were shooting that scene where I tackle you and I pull down your pants to see if you had a
Come on, show him, Darren.
And I pulled it down too far, and I don't think I've ever laughed quite as hard. By accident.
Darren, you went to HR that day. They settled it out of court. It's all good.
Yeah.
Well, Howard, you also helped create Krychek.
That's right.
Obviously a seminal baddie on the show, and Krychek was fascinating through the years only because of his ups and downs in terms of his relationship with everyone else.
Yeah, he evolved. I think, at the time he was mostly somebody to fill space in Jillian's maternity leave. I think he was kind of a stopgap, and he grew into this wonderful character who, lost so much, including his arm.
So Darren, how about you? Besides yourself, of course. We can name 2 of you as one of the batters, but...
I was going to say Luke Van Blunt, just because I'm being honest.
And you still love that costume.
Do you have it? Does it?
I do have, Chris gave me the little monster creature from Humbug that comes out of the thing. And so at Halloween, that's where we put the candy the kids have to reach in. And some of them are not brave enough.
John, talk about the Butt Genie.
The Butt Genie. Remember the Butt Genie? Episode season 7 called Bad Law. Or 8, season 8.
That's right.
No, it actually was a learning experience for me. I learned, one of the things I learned from Chris and these talented writers up here was always question what you've done and see if you can make it better, you can make it scarier. And I had this pitch. I remember I was in Vancouver actually producing an episode of Lone Gunman, and I had done some research in a book. About Indian fake. It was a book? Yes. And about an East Indian fakir who could make himself tiny. And the pitch was he crawls in your ear and it controls you from inside, like Pacific Rim or something. So, so that was the pitch. And Chris heard the pitch and was thoughtful about it. And he said, well, it would be scarier if it went in his ass. And I thought about it, and I said, God damn it, he's right. And it really it gave us humor in the episode, it made it scarier, and that character that Deep Roy played was the fake hero who had no legs and wheeled himself around on a cart. I thought was quite frightening, and it was a lesson for me.
By the way, start lining up, because as soon as we're done with the row, it's going to be time for some questions, so get ready for that. So, Glenn, you're up next.
Eugene Victor Toon.
Say no more. Jim, how about you?
I think I have to pick the cigarette smoking man.
Yes. Obviously, again, another character that started out just as an extra, as an aside, and became the villain of the show.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. We did an episode where we found out a little bit about him, and he did some bad things.
Jillian, who's your favorite baddie?
I was also going to say Toombs, but then there was the, who is the oil guy? The big guy, that big...
Bounty hunter?
Did you watch the show?
the ice
Bounty
guy.
hunter, the bounty
Yeah,
hunter.
What was the character's name?
The bounty hunter.
It's pretty freaky.
I'm not going to give you a serious answer, but there was a moment, and it was late. We were shooting in L.A. here, and I don't remember the episode's name, but sometimes you have to react to the bad guy. He's going to be either CGI enhanced or somebody's not in the suit yet of the bad guy, and so sometimes as an actor you have to, act to a tennis ball or whatever they have there. So I was told by the director, was Michael Watkins, that this was a hideous, terrible, terrible monster, and that I was going to be terrified of it. And remember, we were acting like a couple, and so I did my reaction, and I was terrified, doing the best I could. And then the guy came out in a suit, and I'll never forget. Michael Watkins, the director, said he looks like the guy who fucked Mrs. Butterworth. That's my favorite book.
Chris, you got to top that now.
I think of, the Peacock Brothers, but actually, I'm going to just take the opportunity to give a nod to John Neville, who played the well-manicured man, who died recently or in the last couple of years and was an amazing asset to the show.
And someone else we wanted to pay tribute to was Kim Manners.
Yeah.
Let's start with the questions now. First up, I guess we're right over here.
Hi, I'm Elise. I'm Rachel, and this question is mostly for David and Jillian, but we'd love to hear from anyone. Okay, if Mulder and Scully were to ever go on a real live date, what do you think they would do on that date?
Have sex.
And then maybe dinner. I don't know.
I think it would be barbecue.
Next up.
Hi, I'm Chris, and I want to say thank you to Chris Carter and the entire production writing team for scaring the hell out of us every week and massively moving the genre light years ahead. So thanks to you guys for some amazing work. David and Jillian, was there ever, in all those years, a scene that you wanted to shoot, that you were unable to shoot, or didn't happen? What would it be? And give us a little bit of dialogue.
Are there kids in the audience?
And Jillian, you already said sex. So.
Honestly, a scene you can think of that we didn't do?
You're going to get that sex scene one way or another.
This crowd, they're hard up for some Mulder and Scully action.
Yeah. Yeah,
I wanted a few more hoots than that.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to see that right now? Yeah.
We could give you time to think about it.
That is a good question, but I can't think of anything.
All right, we'll go to the next one.
Hi, I'm Katie. Growing up with this show as a kid, I really, really loved the Monster of the Week episodes, and I wanted to ask the writers if there was ever a Monster of the Week that you thought of and really liked the concept, but that never made it to air.
If you could do one last X-Files episode, what would it...
I actually had I had asked Drew Barrymore to be in the show because I wrote a movie called Home Fries in 1990, came out in 98, and she seemed interested, and I was going to do this character where she was, because I love, aside from the X-Files, I love Twilight Zone, and there was the kid, the Billy Mooney episode where the kid can wish people into the cornfield, and I wanted to do an episode with Drew Barrymore having that kind of power that amazing sort of godlike power over people. But then her agent called me up and said, "Stop bothering my client, Drew Barrymore." So, put out a restraining order, and so that never happened.
I had a question from Twitter real quick for David and Jillian. When do you think your characters finally realized that they were in love with each other? Do you remember a moment where you think on the show where you thought, okay, these two actually are in love?
Chris, do you recall?
I think it was when you first walked into his office in the basement.
Good answer, Chris.
Good answer. There was something I remember in terms of characters or episodes, not written or characters, but I remember having a conversation with Tom Waits because you guys wanted him on the show, and I think for some reason, he and I ended up having the phone conversation, me trying to convince him to come on the show and do it. And I think he wasn't able to, but that was a pretty cool moment in my life.
Got another question.
How much of a long-lasting impact do you think having a strong female main character on a sci-fi show had on like the entire genre?
Is that for me?
Yeah, let's hear it.
You go.
On the entire genre, I mean, I think just in terms of the feedback that I've gotten from young girls, young women, grown-up women throughout the last couple of decades, I mean, Scully had quite a huge impact on people from just, you know, her aspects of her personality and her personal strength and things that she stood up for, and you know, she was also a decent human being, and you know, people listened to her. She got to boss people around, and